Picture a small schoolroom in Nicopolis. Benches, a draft from the door, a teacher with a walking stick and a gaze that makes excuses dissolve mid-sentence. He was born enslaved, injured in body, uninjured in spirit. His name is Epictetus, and he begins class the same way. Like a bell. Some things are up to us, some things are not. He does not say this to depress you. He says it to free your hands. Up to us. Judgment, intention, desire, aversion. The choices we make with our will. Not up to us. The body's fortunes, reputation, other people's decisions, offices, weather, outcomes. The mistake that ruins days is spending the lion's share of effort where we have no steering, then calling the crash fate. Epictetus refuses self-pity disguised as effort. He wants you to reclaim your tool, the faculty the Stoics call prohoresis, the power to choose your stance in your next act. He drills the point with scenes you know. You prepare with care, and a gatekeeper blocks you. Up to you, your politeness, clarity, persistence, refusal to flatter. Not up to you, the gatekeeper's mood. You send a message, reply does not come. Up to you, how you interpret the silence, whether you stew or proceed. Not up to you, the weather inside another mind. Pain visits. Up to you, the story you tell about it, the discipline to seek treatment, the honesty to rest. Not up to you, where the pain came today. Epictetus calls the mind's rightful home the inner citadel, not withdrawal, not hiding, a well-governed center. There you decide what a thing means before you let reflex decide for you. There you separate impressions from assent, the first flash of feeling from the story you attach. A driver cuts you off, the body surges, the old script leaps forward. Disrespect, personal attack. The Citadel opens a second door, a human in a hurry, nothing to do with my worth. Anger is not outlawed, ownership is required. You decide whether it gets the keys. The schoolroom is practical. Epictetus assigns drills. When you catch yourself using the language of loss, I lost it. He took my time. Rephrase. I gave away attention I could have kept. When praise arrives, hold it lightly. When insults arrive, test them. Are they true? Then thank the teacher you didn't hire. Are they false? Then they are wind. When faced with a task, he asks you to whisper for the sake of and name the virtue it serves. Write for the sake of clarity. Decline for the sake of integrity. Persist for the sake of justice. A life with clean sakes grows resistant to fog. He warns against attachment to externals dressed as love. Love people, not the roles they play for you. Love your child, not the fantasy script you wrote for their life. Love work, not the image of self it props up. Otherwise, the first draft change of fortune will feel like identity theft. He invites you to practice voluntary discomfort, a plain meal, a hard bench, a day without the easy luxury, so you remember you can survive without things you've mistaken for oxygen. The point isn't austerity, it's unhooking. Epictetus's voice can sound severe until you hear the mercy beneath it. He is tired of watching people be bullied by what they cannot steer. He wants you to put your energy where it returns interest. When you shift effort from outcomes to process, two things happen. First, performance often improves because attention is no longer split between the work and the weather. Second, even when outcomes disappoint, you keep self-respect intact. You did what was yours to do. You can sleep. He also trains speech. Say only what you'd be willing to defend if challenged by a kind but relentless friend. Cut boasting. It leaks strength. Avoid gossip. It trains the tongue to be careless with facts. Don't narrate pain to gain a crown. Tend it, and save your crown for patience. Speak short and exact in counsels and emails. Clarity is a civic virtue. If you must refuse, refuse without theatre. He is building, word by word, a person who cannot easily be bought. There is humour in his classroom. The the dry sort that punctures vanity. A student obsessing over a promotion asks what ritual will make it his. Epictetus shrugs. Ask for it, prepare well, accept the outcome. The student frowns. He wanted a secret incantation. Epictetus offers freedom instead. You can be decent and effective regardless of the decision. You can be miserable with the crown, and you can be tranquil without it. Choose the domain that never leaves your hands. He's not naive about the world's teeth. Some harms are real, some losses lacerate. His counsel is not a sedative, it's equipment. When circumstances are unjust, he does not say smile. He says, hold your ground, choose your response in alignment with virtue, and act where action can change something. When nothing can be changed at once, protect the citadel from corrosion, the slow acid of bitterness that makes a second victim out of the first. The world needs your clear head next week. Try his method today in 3 small experiments. Label the sphere, take one problem, draw a line down a page. Up to me, not up to me. Put behaviors on the left, calls, drafts, sleep, tone, preparation, boundaries. Put results on the right, approvals, rumors, market weather. Commit to exhausting the left column before you spend another unit of life arguing with the right. Recode a sting. When something pricks pride, add the phrase, or so it seems to me right now. It loosens the cement around the impression. You create just enough space to choose. Practice one refusal. Say no to a small temptation, not because it's evil, but because it proves you are not owned. The snack, the scroll, the last jab in the argument. Quiet victories compound. By the time class ends, the wind has shifted. The room is the same. You are arranged differently. The city will not stop being a city, but a person who can sort control from spectacle is harder to command from the outside and easier to guide from the inside. That is Epictetus's promise. Not painless days, but governable ones. A way to stand when the floor tilts. A will that is poor in excuses and rich in choice. Philosophy becomes a life when it learns the shape of a day. The Stoics did not wait for perfect moods or quiet centuries. They built small, repeatable moves that carry you when nerves or weather will not. Think of these as instruments in a case. You don't play all of them at once. You reach for the one that fits the room. 1. Negative visualization. Rehearse to puncture shock. Close your eyes for 30 seconds and picture some ordinary good. Your morning walk, a friend's voice, your hands able to work, absent. Not to be morbid, but to vacuum the dust off gratitude and to be less surprised by change. Then open your eyes and greet the thing you still have. The aim isn't dread, it's appreciation with teeth. Once a week, extend the drill. Imagine a plan failing, a trip cancelled, an email never answered. Ask, what would I still govern? Make a tiny backup plan. When fortune later does its tricks, you've already met the floor. You don't lie there long. 2. Premeditatio malorum. Preview the day's frictions. In the morning, list the likely snags, delay, noise, haste, a boast, an unfair ask. Fit virtues to frictions, patience for delay, clarity for noise, courage for the ask. Write one line, when X appears, I will do Y. Then put the line where you'll trip over it, on your phone lock screen, at the top of a note, on a sticky near the kettle. When the snag arrives, you won't be inventing a self from scratch. You'll be keeping a promise you already designed. 3. The view from above. Resize the self. Sit or stand. Imagine rising above the scene. First the room, then the street, then the city grid, then the coast, then the slow curve of the earth. Sea lights, weather, lives, 1,000 kitchens, a hospital night shift, a fisherman humming, a child asleep, your own life as one moving point among many. Return gently. You'll notice 2 things have shrunk: self-importance and panic. This isn't disconnection. It's a way to recover scale. so your next act can be clean. 4. The evening review, a ledger without scorn. Before sleep, run the day like a craftsman checking tools. Where did I judge wrongly? Where did I act justly? Where did fear or appetite tug the wheel? Pick one repair for tomorrow. No speeches, a specific change. Pause before replying to Thomas. Walk at 3 p.m. Say no once. You are not sentencing yourself, you are tuning. The point is compounding, not drama. 5. Voluntary discomfort. Unhook gently. Once in a while, choose a plainer meal, a colder shower, a walk without headphones, a day with fewer conveniences. This is not purity theatre. It's a reminder, I can be okay with less. When you know this in your bones, you negotiate with fortune from the standing height of a free person. Cravings soften, options widen. 6. Naming and framing. Tame events with accurate words. Most suffering blooms in the story we add. Practice calling a thing by the smallest true name. The email is late, not they always disrespect me. Traffic is slow, not my life is cursed. He spoke sharply, not he hates me. Small names don't deny justice, they preserve the clarity justice needs. Your nervous system will learn the difference. 7. The one breath reset. Interrupt the spiral. When you notice heat in the jaw or a tremor in the hands, drop attention into the belly and lengthen the exhale by 2 counts. Say a single cue. Steady. You've changed your body's channel long enough to choose rather than be chosen by a reaction. Pair this with a micro-action. Drink water, stand, step outside. The mind follows the body that just chose space. 8. The sphere of control. Draw the line on paper. For any live problem, divide a page. Up to me / not up to me. On the left, list behaviors. Calls to make, drafts to write, sleep, tone, boundaries, preparation. On the right, list outcomes and other people's choices. Now work the left to exhaustion before spending another unit of life arguing with the right. This one page can save a week. 9. The enough list. Design ceilings. Temperance is not about grey meals and smaller lives. It is right measure. For the domains that tend to spill, work hours, social scrolling, shopping, alcohol, praise-seeking, write down enough in advance. 8 deep work blocks per week, 30 minutes of feeds per day, 2 drinks, 1 purchase, 1 post. When the meter hits the mark, stop. You'll notice a return of quiet energy you used to pour past the rim. 10. The 2 yes rule. Guard attention with kindness. Before you accept a new commitment, require 2 yeses. One from present you, excited, and one from tired you. Can we carry this later? If tired you says no, decline or renegotiate. Justice includes the future person who must pay your promises. 11. The clean refusal. Say no without theatre. Write 3 sentences you can reuse. I can't take this on and still do right by my current commitments. That doesn't fit my priorities this month. I'm not the best person for this. Here's a better fit. Practice sending them without apology or edge. Temperance protects justice. Protecting your bandwidth protects the quality of your yes. 12. The gratitude that works. Aim at action. Each night, name 3 specific helps from others. An email, a kindness, a craft you rely on. And do 1 small reciprocation tomorrow. A note, a clean acknowledgement in a meeting, a tip that respects labor. Gratitude becomes structural, not a mood that glows and vanishes. Design helps drills stick. The Stoics would have understood choice architecture. Place what you want to do in reach. Make what you want to avoid slightly costly. Cushions by the window, a book on the cushion. The phone charger outside the bedroom. A kettle beside your journal so morning heat pulls you to the page. A walking path chosen the night before. Rules that are visible, simple, and kept. Bring the virtues into the exercises so they don't drift into hacks. In negative visualization, wisdom distinguishes fear from preparation. In premeditation, courage steps into likely friction without melodrama. In the view from above, temperance right-sizes appetite. In the evening review, justice accounts for where your actions lifted or burdened others. The four travel with you. The drills are their shoes. You will skip days. That is not failure. That is gravity. Restart small. One breath, one line, one page, split into up to me/not up to me. It's better to be reliably modest than gloriously inconsistent. The Stoic promise is cumulative. A little less panic, a little more poise, choices made closer to reality, repairs made faster, dignity that doesn't depend on applause. As the case closes for the night, notice the feeling, not invincibility, but equipment. You won't control the sea, and you no longer need to. Tomorrow you will meet other captains of the same craft, people practicing in different rooms under different pressures. The next chapter turns outward, ethics in action, how Stoic steadiness becomes justice at work, in family, in public life, where calm isn't escape, but the oxygen that lets you do the decent thing all the way to the end.